Just as it's important to know what conditions will get a disability claim approved, it's important to know what conditions won't help and won't get a disability claim approved. Unfortunately, when I do disability exams, I see a lot of patients who bring up problems that won't help their disability claim. Hello, I'm John Foster, and I'm a medical doctor who does Social Security disability exams. I've done over 1,500 of them. As usual, everything I say reflects my own opinions based on my own experience and study, and not the opinions of the Social Security Administration or any other medical body. Now, the first group of problems that won't help a disability claim are medical problems that don't affect the ability to work. I've mentioned that over and over, but over and over again, I get people claiming disability for such conditions. An example is high blood pressure. I often ask patients to please describe how your condition affects you and how it limits your ability to work. In terms of high blood pressure, for most people, this means that they have to take one or several pills a day. And that's about it. In terms of limiting their ability to work, it's very rare that I see a patient whose high blood pressure limits their ability to work. Now, another issue I see is patients who do have disabling conditions but don't know how to describe them. I'll give an example. I ask a patient to please describe for me the medical problems that are making you disabled, and they say, I have bone-to-bone arthritis in my knees. Well, that's a medical diagnosis, but A, it doesn't tell me how that arthritis affects the patient, and B, it doesn't tell me how their arthritis limits their ability to work. A much better answer would be, I have bone-to-bone arthritis in both my knees, and both my knees hurt most of the time. That pain limits my ability to stand for more than about 15 minutes without having to sit down to take a break. And it hurts too much to walk more than about 150 yards, and I have a lot of trouble going up a flight of stairs. In the second example, the patient has described how their condition affects them and how it limits their ability to work. The second type of condition that won't help a disability claim is a condition that is better with treatment. For example, epileptic seizures. Epileptic seizures will qualify for disability if they can't be controlled and they're frequent enough. However, I've seen patients claiming disability for epileptic seizures when their seizures are well controlled with medication, and the last time they had a seizure was over 10 years ago. If you have a medical problem that is well controlled with medical treatment, that will not qualify for disability. Similarly, medical problems that have gotten better will not qualify for disability. This can be things such as broken bones or fractures. Most fractures heal up well in several months, leaving the person with minimal problems. In that case, they won't qualify for disability. This includes most fractures that are treated surgically with plates and screws. The fact that you have plates and screws in a fracture that is healed will likely not qualify you for disability. Conversely, some fractures are known to have problems with healing and cause permanent issues. Usually fractures that go through a joint. That causes injury to the cartilage in the joint, and cartilage does not heal well, and usually these people will get arthritis after the fracture is healed. It will get worse and worse as time goes on. It's called post-traumatic arthritis, and sometimes that will qualify for disability. But anything that's healed up nicely will not. I'm now seeing patients who've had COVID and have completely recovered from it and are claiming disability. I'm also seeing patients who have very serious disabling problems over a year after getting over COVID. The first group, the people who've completely recovered with no permanent effects, won't qualify for disability. Another thing that I see on a regular basis is people who've had cancer. The cancer has been treated, they've been cancer-free for years. They may have a scar from where they had surgery, but they have no major limitations. Again, that's a well-healed problem and will not qualify for disability. Conversely, I've seen multiple patients who've had a problem, had surgery, and they've had complications, including wounds that would not heal for over a year. Social Security considers open, unhealed wounds a very serious problem, and those may qualify for disability. The third group of patients who won't qualify are patients who have problems that don't cause them any symptoms or issues. I most commonly see these with the viral infections HIV and hepatitis C. Now, some people with HIV get AIDS and are very sick and do qualify for disability, and I've seen people with hepatitis C who have liver failure and they may qualify for disability. But today, with highly active antiretroviral treatment, most people with HIV or hepatitis C have no or minimal symptoms. But I regularly see people with these conditions claiming disability, and I'm sorry to say it just won't fly. The fourth group of folks who claim disability who will not be approved are people who are in active addiction, and their disabling problems are due to that addiction. This is Social Security's policy. If you're sick because you're addicted to alcohol or drugs and you're continuing to use alcohol or drugs, even if you're extremely sick, Social Security will not approve disability benefits. However, if you have a problem due to addiction to alcohol or drugs and you've quit using and you're sober and the problem remains and is severe, you will qualify for disability. I had one patient recently who had cirrhosis of the liver and was fairly sick, but continued to drink. I felt a lot of sympathy for them, but I knew that Social Security would not approve their disability claim. I had another patient who'd been addicted to intravenous fentanyl, had had some terrible medical complications as a result of their addiction, had stopped using fentanyl, but unfortunately those problems were permanent and severe, and that patient would be approved for disability. The fifth group of conditions are conditions that would be expected to last less than 12 months. To be approved for disability, a person must have a condition that's either been present for at least 12 months or is expected to be present for at least 12 months. And let me give you a tip here. Doctors are very bad about predicting the future. Sometimes I get patients who've had things such as surgery or fractures just a couple of months ago, and I examine them, and as best I can tell, they're likely going to be mostly healed within 12 months. In that case, their disability application will not be approved. The condition has to have been present for at least 12 months or be likely to continue for at least 12 months. Now, let me talk about something that will be approved, and that's episodic conditions, conditions that come and go. There are quite a few that may be approved for disability benefits. Some of the examples are epileptic seizures, which I've already mentioned. If the seizures cannot be controlled with medication If the person is taking the prescribed medication and if the seizures are severe enough and frequent enough, that will be approved. Another example is asthma. Sometimes people have very severe asthma that comes and goes, and they may be approved as well. Another example is gout, a very painful, very severe form of arthritis that tends to come and go. If the person has enough attacks, they're severe enough and frequent enough, that can be approved for disability benefits, even though the problem isn't present all of the time. The last group of conditions that don't get approved are things that are normal. I often get people complaining of normal things as if they're an illness or sign of an injury. These normal things include such things as sometimes dropping things. There's no one on earth who hasn't dropped something in their lifetime. Forgetting things such as the right word, which is called lethologica, which is also normal, especially after age 50. The normal aches and pains that everyone suffers from, especially if those aches and pains don't interfere with the ability to work. A lot of people don't understand that the fact that you have pain doesn't necessarily mean that you're disabled. That pain has to interfere with your ability to work. For example, if you have back pain, you may or may not be considered disabled. If that back pain doesn't limit any work-related activities, you likely won't be approved. If it does limit work-related activities, such as the ability to sit, stand, walk, lift, or carry, it may be approved. Another thing is simple tiredness will not get a disability application approved because everybody works when they're tired from time to time. Also, normal worry or sadness will not be approved. In fact, getting a psychiatric or psychological condition approved for disability is fairly difficult, and the condition really has to be severe. I'm going to do a video about this in the near future. In the description to this video below, I'm going to give a link to a video from Jonathan Ginsberg, a Social Security disability attorney who has a very good channel that I watch, discussing the problems with getting a psychological disability claim approved by Social Security. Well, I hope this has been helpful, and as always, remember, if it happens, it's possible.